to another episode of Talk to Tot, Real People, Real Talk, Real Life. I am your host, Tatiana Monet, and this week we are going to be talking about dating privileges. So, people have been really getting it confused on the levels to this, right? And just from my thorough examination and also just pinpointing what other people have been identifying when I'm conversing with them, I noticed that there are three levels when it comes to dating privileges and the types of dating privileges that entail when it comes to interacting with somebody that might be a little special to you. So the first level is it's an introductory, right? When you are differentiating a person from just somebody on the street versus somebody you are actually testing out to see if they deserve your time, there's a difference with that, right? So with a stranger, you probably won't give them the time of day. You might have small talk or something like that. But when you begin to date someone initially, you get hyped up for the first date. You know, you have expectations in your head on how that date may or may not go. Granted, you still might be able to have like a little wiggle room because you're trying to test this person out to see, do you deserve my space? Do you deserve my time? Do you deserve me? That's at level one. The privileges that come with that, granted, they might vary based off of age, gender, how you were raised, where you were raised. All of those things, all of those driving forces play a factor in that, right? So I know some experiences that I've had in my adulthood and even as a teenager with dating, it has varied, but some things still remain the same when you're at that level one stage. The first thing is you're really giddy. Like you're kind of excited about going out with somebody, unless you just going for the food, which you got to be careful with that because you don't want to be misleading people. You know what I mean? Because that karma come back to you. But when you meet somebody for the first time and you're actually interested in them and y'all are going out on this date in this introductory phase, you pulling out all the bells and whistles. Granted, you want them to get to see how you are and who you are, but you want to pop out. You want to show them like, this is how I look. I got it. This is what I'm about, and you're here for it type of thing. You know what I mean? So a lot of times people can say that's the representative part of you that shows up first. And that to me can be a very tricky thing. It could be a very murky water situation to experience when you're at that stage because you got to maintain. You can't pull out the guns in the beginning and then there's never any bullets to load the guns, you know, the further you move. So I would recommend that when you're in this stage of the process, make sure that you're as authentic as possible. So yes, put your best, like bring your best foot forward, put your best foot forward, but also be authentic. Let that be your real foot, not this made up foot. You know what I'm saying? So you want people to see who you are, but also get a version of you that it invites them to want more because you want to see them more. Otherwise, why would you be dating them? So, you know, I'm not saying hide the bad things because I definitely wouldn't recommend that, but don't give them a fake show. Like, if you're not about that life, then don't mock or put out a certain type of lifestyle or a certain type of personality or a character trait that ain't really you. But whoever you are, do that to death. Like, come through with that. You know what I mean? Like if you like to wear loud colors, if you're very boisterous and interactive and extroverted, or if you are hands-on and you like to do activities, like allow that person to be submerged in your world because you need to see if they deserve to go to level 2. You see what I'm saying? Now there are some pros with this because if it don't go well, you didn't lose anything. You know what I mean? There's no harm, no foul because this person is like, well, I mean, your opinion don't really matter to me. You know, we don't have no habits or there's no feelings for one another or nothing like that. So if you never see this person again, it's like, shit, oops, excuse me. At least I had the moment and I got some practice. Like that's another thing that comes with being in this level 1 stage. Practice. You get time to get those kinks out. You know, knowing, depending on the person, whether or not you need to lead with all the questions first, or if you want to just like let them lead the way and see how things are going first, or if you want to just do like a split thing, like, hey, okay, I'm gonna give you this information about me, and then you follow up with this information about you that kind of matches that. You know, that those little kinks and quirks and tidbits can be worked out and explored in that stage, because that person is coming in just as them. So there really isn't much put on you on how they expect you to be as far as who you are. There's more so an expectation just off of like previous people and just on GP, really. Like, I know, for instance, and what I mean by that is, for instance, with me, I don't have to have ever dated a guy before for me to expect and demand that he treats me accordingly. You know, he is chivalrous. He is not foul at the mouth, like, what up, little B? You know, let's go out. Like, unless you live under a bridge, I don't know who you're going to attract talking like that. So it doesn't take for me to know you to have a certain level of just common expectation for me to even care enough to devote my time to spend with you, my good old free time that I can't get back. So that's what that stage is all about. Making those mistakes, learning who and who not to talk to, how much of yourself to expose or share, you know what I mean? And just basing it on the climate of it. Like, you really get to see the climate in level 1. You get to see, like, oh, okay, does this person not handle their liquor when they drink? Or is this person really interactive with a lot of people? Like, they know a lot of people, because people, when you go out on that first date, it's a staple. It's a level of symbolism with that. A lot of times people don't remember where you went on dates 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12. They remember the very first date. Where were you guys at? So that moment has to count. It has to mean something, because that's going to be a pivot point. That's going to be a reference for the remaining trajectory of y'all experience. So that is level 1. And I know that I'm coming from this based on a more feminine perspective. I would say I would like to hear what guys have to say in that regard, as far as like what level 1 in dating is like and what privileges those come with. And so to expand on that a little bit more, the privileges that I would extend, or that some women who think like me and act like me would extend in level 1, you're able to have some level of conversation with me on my time. Strangers don't get that. Coworkers don't get that. Like, a coworker better not hit me up on my off time asking me about something. I don't want to hear from you. I don't know you. I clocked out. You know what I mean? I'm Tatiana over here. I'm not whatever my position is, because I'm not on the clock. So in level 1, you have the opportunity to take advantage of whatever free time I'm giving you. It is a luxury. Everybody's time is a luxury. It is precious, and it is an asset that does not get replenished. You can't make up for lost time. That you can never get those seconds from a few minutes ago back. So when someone is giving you that, don't take that for granted. You know what I mean? Not that you need to just worship the ground that they walk on, but just be mindful, considerate, and respectful of it. And a lot of people are really not like that. It sucks, and maybe that's why you're going through what you're going through, and it ain't working for you, and why you keep running into certain types of people who abuse your time, because you don't even have respect for other people's time or your own time. So yes, so that's from my perspective. Some, like, a privilege that comes with that is now you have accessibility to me. Now you have some type of entry level conversation with me. You get to know more about who I am, and not necessarily what I seem to represent based off of my appearance. That's that level 1. Okay, when you're getting into level 2, this is a person that you have seen at least a couple of times, because now that person has piqued your interest enough to where you can now start carving out time. Because in level 1, it's like you're going to take whatever time you can get. In level 2, now there's a consideration factor in there, right? Like, okay, well, I do get off work at such and such time, so maybe I could go home and get changed and then go hang out with this person. Versus, I'll let you know when I'm free. You know, that's level 1. But in level 2, you actually are thinking about this person as far as incorporating them to some degree. because now you want to get more of a feel for them. You want to see where their head is at. You want to see more of their mannerisms and their interactions, just more of their whole essence as a human being. And what that does in that stage, what that comes with, is now you starting to see other things outside of them. Like you may be around their friends now. You may be around a couple of their relatives or something like that. Or you may go to a venue or a place of significance to this person, because now they're more open and willing to show you this. Like, okay, well, we went here because this is kind of mutual ground for us, the first couple times we hung out. But now that I've gotten to know you a little bit more and I actually like to spend time with you, now I want to let you in a little bit more. You are able to advance to the next step in me. That's what happens in phase 2. Also in phase 2, you start forming habits with this person. You know roughly, I might hear from them at such and such time of day. Or I know they're off today, so I'm likely to hear from them about wanting to hang out or something like that. You also start in this stage seeing if a person's actions are matching up with their words. And based on the result of that can determine what dating privileges you continue to extend to this person or not. And vice versa, because best believe you're being watched too. This is not a one-way thing. Dating privileges is not like, a lot of people look at this from a singular aspect, and I wish that they would stop that. Like, you want people to jump over all these walls and go through all of these hoops to get to you, but you just sitting there. Well, you got to invest in this too. This is not an investment that's just built off the back of one person. That's not how this works. In order to really have something that is of substance, has some sustenance, and is impactful and meaningful, you have to put into the pot too. Otherwise, a person is just overextending more of themselves into something that they're not going to get that part of themselves back, and that's not okay. People don't owe you nothing. Just like you have value, so do they. Other people put themselves on pedestals just like you do. So just be mindful in that phase not to get too comfortable with people kind of just like showing you their appreciation for you. Because I find that in this stage, especially like with some of these women, like the real gold digger part come out, or the women that are like, I'll say on retainer. I'll say that because you have some women that's just like, don't talk to me until you pull out the cash app. Wow, I can't even say hello unless I'm buying you a pair of shoes. I didn't know you were for sale. Got it. Understood. Yeah, no, this ain't gonna go far. You know what I mean? And it's like, who wants to be a number? Who wants to have a dollar value? You know what I mean? Like, granted, if somebody is just willing out the kindness of their heart, which is typically, you see this in this stage of life, especially if somebody's familiar with you, if somebody want to do for you, they're just going to do for you. You don't have to convince them or demand them of that, because then it's disingenuous. It's like, oh, well, I know if I break this person off, I'm going to get something out of this. So that person, in a sense, is buying you because they are paying you this money so that you can perform whatever action that they want you to perform. Yeah, your rent might be paid, but what did you have to do for your rent to be paid, sis? And the same thing with these men. Don't let women use you for your dick. Stop it. Knock it off. She only wants you for the dick. She don't care about your heart, your feelings. Now, let me make a small disclaimer. For people who legit don't care, this don't apply to you, my love. I promise you it don't. And I'm not knocking nobody hustle or nothing like that, but what I'm saying is, when I'm interacting with people and I'm talking to them and they're expressing their qualms and their shortcomings and pitfalls when it comes to these dating privileges, sometimes some of the things that I'm saying are the reasons why. How are you showing up? What are you doing? What are you saying? Is what you're saying matching up with what you're doing? Everything is like a puzzle. It's like a dance. I've said that before. Like, there's a push and a pull. So are you only pushing or are you only pulling? Are you doing anything at all? Like, all of those play a part in it. You know what I mean? So yes, with this level 2 thing, you're really starting to see how people are, if their representative is still on the table or not, or if they're starting to smooth their representative out because now they have some familiarity with you, and now they're ready to start actually showing you deeper parts of them. It's a layer. You just peeling stuff back over and over. You know what I mean? And it in a way it should work like that. It really should, because you can't, like, just getting right through to straight through to something. You can damage it. You know what I mean? Just like we can't just reach in and touch our heart. There's a rib cage around it. There's muscle tissue. There's skin. There's nerves. There's all of those things that is right before you get to the heart, because it deserves the utmost protection. That's how we need to handle ourselves when we have these encounters with people when it comes to dating privileges. Not everybody deserves them. As you go up each level, people who are not for you or you're not for them should taper out. Or how people call it, petering. I hate that phrase, but they should fall out. You know that, fall off. So yeah, but back to this phase two, where dudes, stop letting girls use you for your dick in this stage, because you just giving out community dick. You giving out community dick and you ain't getting nothing up out of it. Same thing with girls. Stop giving up the cooch. You ain't getting nothing out of it. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the day, if somebody paying you off for what you can do with your body, and that's not your job, like if you are not, I am a prostitute. If you are not a prostitute, what are you doing? You can't sit here and be mad in one moment that you're not finding any really good quality, kind-hearted people. If, look at your lifestyle, look at what you're doing in these phases, and you'll get your answer on why it's not working for you. You have to be more responsible for your actions. And in this phase, be a little bit, and for people who deserve it and have earned it, be a little bit more gracious to a person that's choosing to see you. It is a choice. Nobody has to see you. Nobody has to give you time. Nobody has to spend money on you or interact with you or nothing like that. Be grateful for that. Just like people should be grateful for what you give them. These are intangible things that you cannot get back. So it's the same thing. Be mindful of that. Don't just because somebody being nice to you, now you want to milk the cow. It's like, no, you ruin people, because then those people, once you've done that to them, now they out here in the world contaminating everybody else for unresolved trauma and just poor experience that you done put out there. And then you still not happy. So it's like, who are you really serving? You know what I mean? Like, what is this really doing for you? So be mindful in this stage. Now, the good side to this is when you are in this phase, you get to explore another level of you that's only active when you have another person that you have this connection with. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to have a really good relationship with ourselves and to work on that and to build that over time. When you are doing that with somebody else, it's a whole nother ride. And it can be as wonderful or as miserable as you make it. So in this phase, what privileges show up when you're dating someone in level 2 are a level of comfortability. You might divulge more information to them, more intimate details about your life or who you are as a person, things that you have gone through, access to your living situation. A lot of times in this phase, somebody done been to somebody's house by now. You know what I mean? So you're actually able to see, how does this person live? What is their habitat like? You know what I mean? Because how our home is set up is a real big reflection on a person's personality and finances, you know. So that's what happens in this phase. Not everybody should be coming over to your house. Not everybody should make it to your bedroom. Not everybody should have your address, you know, just because you're dating them. There's levels to this stuff. You know what I mean? Another level that comes with this is they might meet more of your relatives or people that are important to you. You know, in this phase, that's when some people who have children start introducing people to their kids. Because it's like, okay, I've seen you, you know, a few times. You know what I mean? So you probably have heard my kid in the background at this point. So now I can let you see them. It might not be a full, like, hands-on activity, but you see them in passing, a quick exchange. Like, hey, this is who this individual is that your parent has been on the phone with. This is them. You know what I mean? Also, what this is, what happens in this phase is not only more access to time, but how that time is spent. things are a little bit more thoughtful. Things are a little bit more intentional. That's really the word that I was going for. Things are done with a lot more intent, a lot more consideration. For instance, hey, I was thinking about you. I saw this. I wanted us to do this because you said, like, okay, prime example. One person told me, you like wine. So let's do something that involves wine. You know what I mean? Or like one of my best friends, they really like to eat like and try new places. So every time, well, not every single time, but their thing is they like to try new places, when they go out to eat. So, or and another one of my best friends, they were dating someone that was vegan. So what my best friend did was, okay, let me try to look up places that are vegan, even though I'm not a vegan. I don't mind trying new things so that this person can see I'm willing to be in your world and in your space while you're in mine. That level of thought and consideration is definitely a thing. You start to see more of a person's heart in this level. You know what I mean? And that it's like each level you get, there is more room in a sense for more scarring if things don't go well. It can. Because the more a person knows, the more of a liability it could be, depending on what they do with that information or having your address or something like that. There's a gamble when it comes to dating. And everybody is gambling. It ain't just one-sided. You know what I mean? So, like, even if somebody, like, lets you in their car, it's like you don't know what that car is affiliated with or whose car it is or whatever. It's just any little thing. So, just the higher you climb in the levels that you go, be mindful. Be mindful because what you're also doing is creating more exposure for yourself to things that, one, you can't control, two, you may not want to be a part of, and three, a whole lifestyle that you necessarily may not want to have any connectivity with. So just be on the lookout when you're in this type of phase, because if this is a person that should have been weeded out in phase one, in phase two it's going to be even worse, because now they know more, they see you more, they've been in your environment, you know what I mean, they've been around people that you know. So just be mindful. But on the other hand, it could be euphoric. Really, it's like, you know what, I see the growth in this. I'm around this person a little bit more. Now I know, and I see a commercial for something. Oh, wait, they were just talking about they needed this the other day. Let me go on Amazon real quick and order this, and I'll have it come to my house. And that way, next time I see them, hey, I thought about you. Here you go. It can be so fun. Like, being thought of, it's a happy feeling when someone says, hey, I was thinking about you today. You know what I mean? They can't just think about a stranger or something like that. Like, you might be thinking about how they look or something. But when someone actually says, I'm thinking about you, they know, they have gotten to know enough of you to where now there's a lingering interest. There's a desire to know more, want to be around you more. That build up, that giddy feeling, those are good things. And they're heightened when you're in level 2. I really like level 2. You still do a lot of the flirting and attention getters that can happen in level 1, but this time it's way more directed to speaking to this person, not just about you giving it off, but how it's going to be received. Oh yeah, you can have fun in that stage. You really, really can. The last level, 3, there's exclusivity in that. And a lot of people marry people off the strength of level 3 when the person shouldn't have even made it past level 1 or 2. Level 3, when you're dating, 9 times out of 10, you done probably spent the night at that person's house, vice versa. You probably got a drawer or some belongings at their place, or vice versa. In level 3, when I say habits, I mean, at this point, it's beyond the routine of phone calls or stuff like that. Like, y'all are actually creating a system at this point. It's beyond just, oh, we have a habit. Like, we have our own little, like, routine where I'll hear from him twice a week, or, she gonna text me, at least once a day while she's at work or something like that. No, now it's more of an expectation. I have to see this person, or this person is now incorporated more into my life. They are a part of it. So they are someone to be considered. They are someone that has a place. They are someone that I can speak long term about. Like, oh yeah, next month. Oh yeah, later on this year. You know what I mean? Y'all ain't just going to restaurants and whatever like that no more. Y'all going on trips. Period. And granted, not saying that none of this can happen in any of the other stages, but when you are not but when you are graduating into certain steps, you start to see more of you come out. And that's what I'm saying. So I'm not dismissing that things can't happen in other levels. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just showing you how it could build based on where you start. And that's another thing too, side note. How you start when you're getting into these levels, and even just how you start off with that person from the very beginning before y'all even start elevating into y'all dating. All of that matters. Your encounter, that upfront interaction with that person, it definitely impacts the trajectory of the rest of what y'all have going on. Hands down. And how y'all work through navigating going from level 1 to 2 to 3. That's going to be a real testament to how y'all dynamic will be. So it's important to explore each level. Don't skip these steps. So back to level 3. In level 3, it's playful, but things are more endearing. Things have a deeper meaning, a deeper connection to. At this stage, level 3, this person has 9 times out of 10 seen you cry, seen you mad, seen you drunk, seen you sad, whatever. Like now they're more exposed to different versions of you. Now they are able to have a more informed opinion about who you are and your lifestyle, and y'all are working on integrating y'all lifestyles, y'all habits, y'all mindset, all of that while you build your own things together. So not only is there this convergence of two human beings and everything that they're coming with, you're also starting to create your own new things at the very same time. It's no more just I'm learning you and you learning me. It's what are we doing together? That's what happens in stage 3. And in stage 3, that's when you are exploring titles. That's when you are talking about, okay, what will this be? Are we working towards like long-term stuff like engagement, marriage? Are we talking about moving in together? Are we talking about, you know what I mean, like making sure, hey, this is our time, whatever that time is every week or whatever. Things are deeper, things hit harder. And also what shows up in this phase of dating is you start to have that veil that was starting to be lifted in phase 2, the veil is off. So now you see, oh, you can't handle your liquor when you drunk. Oh, you leave your clothes on the floor when you come in from work or whatever the case may be. You start pinpointing things. And so what happens in this level is now there's a privilege of expressing certain things that may bother you. Because not everybody care about your opinion. Not everybody's going to respect your opinion or receive what you have to say. Side note, a lot of people don't like a mirror held to them anyway. Some people, if you tell them something, it could be the cold-hearted truth. And they fighting you on it just because you're telling them about it. You know what I mean? Avoid them types of people and let them just suffer on their own accord. But when you're dating somebody like that in phase 3, this is where you should have the vulnerability to be able to speak on things that concern you and pairing up with that person on how to work through those problems together. Especially if you've built this rapport up in level 1, you've gotten a better understanding of how this person thinks and talks in level 2. So when it is time to communicate on things that may rub you the wrong way, you're able to speak to this person in love and light. They're able to hear it without it feeling like it's a slight against them. You know what I mean? It's levels to this stuff. Another privilege that happens in level 3 it's really big on the trust factor. For instance, you might be comfortable running to the store while this person is in your house. You know what I mean? Or you might, if you need to get dropped off at work, but their car is somewhere else, you might have them use your car or something like that. Like it's really big on trust. And what am I trying to say? Besides trust, it's also about, I'm losing my train of thought. It's so besides you and consent. That's what I was trying to get to. Consent. And what I am referring to with that is you can trust somebody all day, but them seeking your consent to ensure that everything is okay. Like that is something where it's like, okay, hey, like, I know I said I was gonna do this. You good with that? Or hey, I'm gonna be late coming here. You cool with that? You know what I mean? Like, cause in the earlier stages, if you late, you late. It don't matter. Or hey, look, I'm late, but I'll make it up to you type of thing. In phase 2, it's like, okay, you late, but all right. But in phase 3, it's like, look, I have an obligation to show up, to let you know that I see you, and I know you let me know that you see me. So I'm gonna correct this mistake. I'm considerate enough and have enough self-awareness to where I can acknowledge where I went wrong, and now I'm also bringing a solution to the table, working through stuff together, and really just having that person in mind when things go on that are about the both of you. Those things really start to fall into place in level 3. And I'm not reducing these levels to everyone's dating life and what privileges come with that and stuff. But from what I have seen and from whom I've communicated with, these are kind of like the 3 big areas that people navigate through. You know what I mean? So, and another thing too that's kind of cool about being in level 3 is with the right person, there's less doubt. You can have a level of dependency. Like, yeah, you have your expectations, but it's something that you can look forward to. It's reliability comes into play here a lot more than what it did before. Like, you at this point, you kind of are assured knowing this person is here. I can expect to see this person or interact with this person on a regular basis. This person is now an extension of my life. This person is now somebody that I am incorporating, and they're incorporating me into their life. And you're able to see that, and how it is approached is based on how you communicate with each other, and that is something specific and unique to you two. There's a beauty to that. Like, when you get in sync with someone and how they move, you move, how you do something and you don't even have to question it, they're there. That's dope. That's a real bond. That's, I think, one of the big key things that happens in level 3, and that is there's a bond. You know what I mean? There's a spark in level 1. There's a connection in level 2. There is a bond in level 3. That is a privilege. You don't bond with everybody. You don't connect with everybody. Not everybody sparks your interest. But you see that there's differences, like sparks fizzle out real fast. A connection, you can lose connection. You know what I mean? Like how you lose internet service or something like that. But a bond, when you even say a bond, it's something that has more weight to it when you hear that. You don't hear about bonds being broken like that. Not to say that they don't. But when you compare a bond to a connection, it's like that connection is more so on some face value feeling type of stuff. But bonds are deep. Bonds are things that can convince a person to revisit a person. Even if they not in favor of them at that moment. It's like, but we got a bond though. Like, yeah, we might not see eye to eye right now. We may not understand each other. I may not too much like you right now. But we have a bond, and that can hold weight compared to other stuff. And you have to graduate to that. You have to earn that. You have to take time and invest and put into that, and it takes both people involved. And if you're doing everything in these other levels, then you'll have something impeccable, superb. Okay? But if not, you're going to be bonded to a person that makes you feel like you're in bondage. Be mindful. So, that was my little spiel on dating privileges from that aspect of levels. Now, there is another component to that I wanted to talk about, right? And it's about when let's say you're openly dating and you're not just focused on one person, but you're entertaining multiple people at one time. Depending on that person and how seriously you take them can determine how much of you they get. A lot of people get mad at that because sometimes people come into this dating thing with so many expectations that they want certain things that belong to people with other titles that they haven't earned yet or may not ever earn. Don't expect boyfriend privileges and you're just dating. And when I say just dating, y'all are not in a relationship. Y'all are actually going out on dates, hanging out with each other, getting to know each other. If you're from the Midwest, specifically if you're from Chicago, we call it talking. Y'all talking. This is somebody I'm talking to. I'm familiar enough with you. We got some habits. We hanging out with each other and stuff like that. But you not my dude. I'm not your girl. But we talking though. So there is a level of respect that comes with somebody you talking to, because it's like, hey, even though we know we talking to other people, we ain't finna be like just doing stuff in each other's face. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a respect thing. But you still have liberty to do what you want to do because we're not together. We're dating. And we're not dating exclusively. You have to be on the same page. And both of y'all have to admit and agree to being exclusive. Otherwise, I mean, if you see somebody else out on a date with the person that you dating, they're still single. They're dating. They're not in a relationship. You don't own them. Just like some people can be too forward. Like this one dude, one time he got my number and he hit me up like at almost 10 o'clock at night, like 3-4 days later, and was like, hey, I didn't get your number for no reason. I want to hang out with you. You want to come out tonight? Who going where at 9 o'clock at night? Who does that? And I'm just like, y'all, no. I didn't even respond that night. I responded the next morning. And I explained myself, which you don't have to do that. But I'm like, hey, I was working on something. But if I'm working on something, that's going to take precedence over you inviting me somewhere at the last minute. And you hitting me up at 10 o'clock at night. Talking about I haven't seen you. I haven't seen you neither. Like, but I'm going to keep it moving though. I mean, you got the number, but you in a different category with me. So you put me in a category unbeknownst to me and put these expectations on me. And now you're trying to hold me accountable for what was unbeknownst to me. Not going to happen. No. And also when you're hanging out with certain people, just because you may have seen this person multiple times, it doesn't mean that now they have the privilege to touch you. This a lot of times applies to us women. I'm not saying men are excluded, but a lot of times when we women are hanging out with someone, and I say men because I have a heterosexual lifestyle, but some women dabble, or they are strictly on the other side. So when you see a person often and they start feeling you and stuff, you still need to get somebody's consent to touch them, unless they are flirting back with you. And that's another thing. Some people be flirting by themselves. If I'm not giving you any bodily attention, and I'm not playing hard to get, but if I'm sitting a little bit away from you, I'm not like touching, like our skin ain't touching or nothing like that. If I'm not like, if my body language is not showing you that I want that type of thing, then don't try to drag that out of me. Like, guys, Stop kissing these women in the mouth when they not interested in you like that. You don't have to seal the deal at the end of the date by kissing somebody. No. Like, no. Especially if that girl ain't into you like that, but a lot of people ain't gonna be rude and just be like, oh my God, don't kiss me. So they partake in the kiss, but it's a kiss that they never wanted. So now you see a difference in their behavior. Now they sitting away from you a little bit more. If they want to hang out with you and get to know you, now they got to be careful about how they sit or what they do, because then you gonna think, oh, they feeling me physically. No. If anything, you turning me off physically. You might have a cool personality, a dope soul, but you doing too much. You doing too much. Don't get so handsy and touchy-feely just because this person is in your space and giving you some time. That's not what that means. It means they're more interested in seeing what you're about. Because at the end of the day, when people want to be touched, they're going to allow the touch, and the touching going to happen anyway. If that person wants it, don't rush that. It's levels to it. It's a privilege to be touching on anybody. You can't touch on them without their consent unless you're forcing it. And if you're forcing it, that's a problem. Don't put expectations on people to be calling you all day, every day, when you're not even this person's significant other. Y'all are just dating. Don't assume the role of what, like, okay, another instance. Somewhere, and I'm not talking about for people who are receptive and appreciative of this stuff. I'm only talking about when it doesn't work. I have to make these disclaimers because I have some audience members that tend to be really sensitive, and they think that everything I'm saying may apply to them, or they may just be against it. And granted, everybody entitled to their own opinion. I'm going to share opinions that may not be common, may not be conventional, whatever. But I'm sharing my experience, because that's all I got is my experience and the people who I converse with, and that's what's displayed here on this show. So back to what I was saying, for people who are like, oh, that don't happen. It may not happen to you, love, but it is happening. So anyway, some women, as soon as they get some type of attention from a guy, they like to hop in the kitchen. Don't give this man wife duties, and he may not even give you no ring. I'm not saying don't let stuff build up to that. No, that is the whole point of that. But if you come out the gate giving him all you got, then in a man's mind, he gonna think, well, if you giving me all of this and I ain't even have to work for it, I ain't have to put no ring on it, we ain't got no kids, no nothing. One, what is he gonna be looking forward to if y'all were to get to the marriage stage? You done already gave him everything else. And two, what does he gotta even consider that for? It's nothing to consider because you done gave him everything. Stop letting everybody in the jar taken out, especially if they not pouring back in. You can't pour from an empty cup. So don't be emptying out your cup to everybody just because you getting some attention. A lot of times what we do is a reflection of who we are on the inside. So if you work on yourself a little bit more on the inside, how things happen around you, outside of you, and amongst the people that you interact with, those things will be worked on simultaneously. It, like I said, it's a dance. It's a symbiosis in that. The work that you put on the inside will reflect outwardly, because your perception changes, how you handle things changes, your mannerisms change, and then that starts to attract different types of people who are on that wavelength. It could be a beautiful thing. It could be a blessing on a curse or a curse, depending on how you use it. So, on that note, I wanted to just share different types of dating privileges with everyone. And I could talk longer, you know what I mean? But it's like, hey, I can always do a part 2 if people want to hear more content about this topic. But I really do appreciate y'all for tuning in to this week's episode on dating privileges. Provided a little bit more of a feminist aspect. So maybe if people want to hear more about this, then I can have a male come on the show and just talk about their take on it. But I do try to put tidbits out there that highlight male behavior and female behavior, because, I mean, you know, it's there. This is not a one-sided type of thing. But just be mindful of how you advertise yourself, how you put yourself out there, and do work on yourself so that way you amplify the good things about you, and you gravitate towards the things that are more for you and the people who can help you manifest that even more, and vice versa. So put in the work, realize stuff for what it is. Don't try to skip these steps. Enjoy the phases that you're in, and trust the process when it's time to phase somebody out or level them up. Okay? It's levels to this thing. So, until next time, I appreciate you guys tuning in to this week's episode of Talk to Tot, Real People, Real Talk, Real Life. I am your host, Tatiana Monet, encouraging you to tune in to next week's episode, as well as follow me on Instagram at Tatiana Monet, on TikTok at Tatiana_Monet. And also, I encourage you to follow the podcast IG, which is _ Talk to Tot. This episode and all of the other episodes, previous and that will follow, are streaming on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. I love y'all. I hope that this information was able to help some of you, or just provide clarity, be entertaining, whatever it was. I hope that you were able to gain something beyond today, or reflect on what you may have had going on, or what you're currently going on now. So I appreciate you, and I hope you have a good one. I will see you next time. Bye.